Marketer of the Day, episode 595. Tax liens and tax deeds. Make more money easily by thinking outside the box and ramping up with Ted Thomas. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We're chatting with Ted Thomas, and Ted is an active investor with over 20 years experience. He's appeared on CNBC, ABC, CBS, and NBC, tons of them. Just don't get him confused with Ted Turner. And Ted specializes in advising, guiding, and teaching people the steps to make money with tax lien certificates and tax defaulted property. So we're going to hear all about Ted's story, what he has going on these days, and then what you can do to apply what he has to tell you. So Ted, glad to be talking to you.
Okay, well, I'm happy to be here, and let's have a little fun and educate the audience.
Yeah, I mean, let's do it. So, I mean, there's all kinds of different areas that we could get into, but what has been your focus the last 6 to 12 months or so?
Well, we had a couple of really super successful investors. One of the investors that I taught how to do this, he bought over a period of 3 years. I didn't see it until just now, but he bought 750 tax lien certificates. Now, some of these certificates were only $500, others were $2,000, whatever. He bought $3 million worth of tax certificates over a 3-year period. Now, I say he was an investor, but he was really a CPA, and he got all his clients to do it. He said, look, I'll go buy them for you. I'll go do all the work for you. Now doing all the work nowadays is online. It's so easy, you can buy these things online. Anyway, so he bought all these certificates, and he made giant returns. I mean, I was shocked at the returns he got. He got returns of 22 to 27%. I could not believe the returns. Now, this is a CPA doing this, right? So I said, well, why did you do all this? How do you expect to make money? He said, Ted, I charged them 20% of the profit. I said, wait a minute, let me see if I can figure this out. You did $3 million. You got $3 million in certificate. He said, yes. He said, but they paid 20%. I said, that's $600,000. He said, yeah, that's right, but it was their money. He said, I only got 30% of that. I said, what? You got 30% of 600,000? He said, yes. The CPA did that. I said, oh my God. I said, I guess you got the money's worth of my course, right? He roared with laughter. Can you imagine that? He didn't do any work except go online, buy the certificate, and then when the government paid him on the certificate, see, a tax certificate, you just raise your hand, you buy it, and the government sends it to you. And then when the people pay their tax, they have to pay their tax plus a penalty of 20% because they were late. And so they made 20% on $3 million worth of tax certificates over. Now, this was over a 3-year period. He didn't do it real quick, but 3 years. And so that was pretty good pay for him, don't you think?
Yeah, especially because he found a way to leverage it even more, right? He could have just taken what he learned from your course and saved up his pennies and done a one-shot with his own stuff, but he did that whole the John D. Rockefeller thing where it's like, I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's than 100% of my own, so that way he was able to get more reach, more bang for his buck. So just to make sure that we're all on the same page about this tax deed and tax lien stuff, can you make sure that we all understand when people are buying these certificates, like what they are and what's going on and how this is an easy way to make money?
Okay, good. I'll do that. But first of all, I like the way you just did that takeoff on expanding your horizon. Not just do it for yourself, but get other people involved. And for a CPA, he had a lot of clients, and those guys have a hard time making money, as you know. All right, so here's what a tax certificate is. By the way, for Californians, I'll talk about tax deeds in a minute, but right now we're in tax lien certificates. So half of the states sell the certificate. Now, what happens is if people don't pay their property tax, the local government will issue a piece of paper, and it's called a tax lien certificate. All right, now there's thousands of these. As a matter of fact, in Florida, in May of 2018, they issued a 1 million certificates. And you can buy them. Some of them are $50, some of them $500, some of them $2,000. So it's easy to get into. So all you do is to buy a tax certificate, you invest your money with the government. In other words, you give your money to the government, and they give you the certificate back. Then when the people come to pay their tax, they have to pay not only their tax, but if you pay a bill late, you get your hand slapped. Look, you have to pay a penalty. So when you pay your tax, you pay a penalty because you were late. And this CPA, he went to all the states that paid. Some states pay 18%, some pay 22%, some pay 24%, some pay 25%. That's the penalty. So he bought those certificates for his clients, and then he made money on the certificates as the same as they did. It's a predictable, certain, secure investment. This is the kind of thing old ladies should buy. Now, your grandmother, if you put your grandmother on tax certificates, she'll love you. I'm going to tell you. because you can't buy them from me. You can't buy them from a broker. You have to buy them directly from the government, and your money is protected by the property tax code. So it's super safe investment, super safe. So that's what a tax certificate is. And you can buy as many as you want. You want to buy one, you can buy them all the different states. Now, when I started years ago, now I'm an old gray-haired guy. So when I was young, you had to go to the county and go to the auction. Now you can do this whole thing online. That's what we do. We teach people how to do it online.
Awesome. Well, this sounds, like you said, super simple. And also, you can start small. You can buy just one and then see how that goes. Or you could go crazy with it. There's no limit to, or there's no range limit to how you can do that. And so you said that you can just nowadays just go and do it online. So like, how would you do that? Where's the starting point, and what's like the website to go and find this?
Well, the website is go to my website so they can learn how to do it. And that doesn't cost anything. Just go to tedthomas.com and there's videos there to show them how to do it. So, but it's this simple. This is how simple it is. All right, now they don't sell them in California, but they sell them right in Arizona. So let's use Phoenix, okay? That's Maricopa County. They'll have anywhere from 20,000 certificates every year to 50,000. Now, if they have certificates, it means people didn't pay their tax. All right, so you can go, you can call Maricopa County and say, are you going to sell online? They'll say yes. They'll tell you where the website is. And then you can just go to the website and it'll have property number. Every property has a number. Like you and I have a social security number. Every property has, in California, they call it assessor's parcel number. So let's say you know the number of the property that you want to buy. You just go to that number and they'll say the certificate is $899. And so you then you just make a deposit of that money with the county, and then they send you a certificate, and then you don't do anything. You sit on your asset. It's a passive investment. They'll send you the email saying you own certificate number so and so. Then when the people come in and pay, they'll send you an email and say, look, send the certificate back, and we'll send you a check for whatever you paid plus the interest rate. It's that simple. It's easy. It's not hard. So anybody. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so I was just gonna say, like, so it sounds super easy and simple, but how long does it take for the money to come back? Like, you put that deposit down and then you wait until the property tax is paid, I imagine?
Yeah, you're not going to get paid. Oh, here's the beauty of the business. That was a good question, by the way. Good question. So what you do is you raise your hand online or go to the auction, and you raise your hand, you buy the certificate. So they issue that certificate to you. Now that starts a clock ticking, go tick, 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 like on 60 minutes, little clock ticking. And a certificate in Arizona can stay outstanding for a maximum of 3 years. But at the end of the first year, they owe you whatever you paid plus 16%. Then the end of the second year, they owe you whatever you paid plus 16%. And now if they're really bad off, then it goes all the way to the third year. So now they owe you 16% for each of those years. If they don't pay you, you then get the property at that point. You get the property without a mortgage. You get the property. But if the people come in and pay their tax, whenever the people come to pay their tax, now 97% of the people pay their tax. But when they pay their tax, you get back all your money. Now, I just said you get back all your money plus whatever the interest rate. In Arizona, it's 16%. So that's how it works.
That's pretty crazy. So it sounds like you can't really go wrong with this, right? Like, is there any case where you might, for whatever reason, find a property that's a dud that doesn't pay back?
Yeah. You don't want to wing it. We're just talking about it now, but when we teach it, we teach them how to survey online, how to see what. Like, you don't want to buy a ghetto property. I mean, if they don't pay it, you're going to end up with a ghetto property. What are you going to do it? What are you going to do with it? So you do have to learn how to do so. It's not like snap your fingers and make money. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about it. The big money guys would be down there and take it all right away. So what you need to do is you have to learn how to research the properties. You have to learn how to do the bidding process. Every county is allowed to have a different bidding process. Like in Arizona, I said it paid 16%. Here in Florida, they pay 18%. In Georgia, they pay 20%. Texas pays 25%. You're kind of getting the idea. So you want to learn about that. And it doesn't take long. If someone goes to the Ted Thomas site, they'll see videos on it. It's really simple. But remember, you're waiting. You have to do like the CPA now. What he did is he bought $3 million in certificates. That took him 3 years. Took him a long time to do that. And then when they started paying off, he started making that big money. There's another side to the business, which is tax deeds. But tax liens are super safe. You can put your grandmother in it. You can not have to worry about it.
Okay, so tax liens, I feel like we figured out like basically the gist of it, like
Right.
you said, on your site on tedthomas.com. There's more,
Right.
it goes into more detail, but we're just
Yeah.
kind of chatting about it here. So
Right.
tax liens, that makes perfect sense. So now you say tax deeds. Tell me about that.
Okay. Now in California, what they do in California, they're not so benevolent. Like Arizona is a benevolent state. They say, all right, you didn't pay your tax. Oh, we're going to help you out a little bit. We're just going to issue a tax lien certificate. So that means that Robert didn't pay his taxes. Now they're going to give you a whole year. Now, what might have happened in that year to you is your wife had a baby, you had a hurricane and it ruined your roof, and you had a car wreck. So you just can't afford to pay your tax. So you hustle, you bustle, you get a night job, and you get everything taken care of, and you pay your taxes. So the state's trying to be nice to you, the local county. But in California, whoa, and in Texas, so in California, if you don't pay your taxes, all right, well then they are allowed to confiscate your property. Now, California is the most liberal state in the United States. I mean, they have economic problems because they create their own. All right, now I'm from California, so I'm not just knocking California. All right, so in California, if people don't pay their tax, they just let it roll into the second year, the third year, the fourth year, and then in the fifth year, the local government, whether it's Stanislaus County in Modesto, or it's Turlock, or it's LA, or it's San Diego, what the government does when they reach that final point is they confiscate. In other words, they take the property away from the people that were there. They take it away, and then when they don't want any more property, but they take the property and then they sell it at auction at a tax deed or tax defaulted auction. They sell it starting bid back taxes. They don't care if it's worth $1 million or $300,000. They start the bidding at the back taxes. Now, just to give you an idea how big a business this is. Now, this is a business of abundance. I've been doing it for 25 years. In Los Angeles County, and I've been in that auction five times over the past 20 years. All right, in Los Angeles, which is one of the wealthiest counties in the world, in the United States, definitely. All right, so it's one of the wealthiest. They will have anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 properties that they will sell all in one day, starting bid, back taxes.
Craziness.
Yeah, starting bid with no mortgage. They wipe out the mortgage at the auction.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Now, if you want to see all this happening, you can go to my website, tedthomas.com there, and we'll show you examples of people doing it. You can see it. I mean, I've been doing it for a long time. I do everything. You and I aren't doing video, but I do a video like this every day for people. Every day. It's just constant. I've been doing this for more than 25 years.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you definitely have the energy to do a daily video like that. So
Yeah.
when there's 1,500 to 2,000 properties being sold at these sorts of auctions, it sounds to me like there would be just so many things being sold that it would be easy if you had the right criteria, if you had some rules set for yourself, if you were being somewhat of a lowballer and you said, well, I'm not going to bid past a certain amount, you could get some good property really cheap, right?
Boy, I got to make you a teacher in one of my classes. You got the idea already. This is great. Yeah, absolutely. You want to learn. I just give you all the positives, but you'd want to come to a class and learn. All right, we're going to go to Modesto, say. So that's Stanislaus County. Now, Stanislaus County is not going to have 2,000 like LA. They're going to have about 100 properties at auction. So that gives you plenty of time. So the auctioneer will tell you, the county tax collector will say, all right, we're going to have 125 properties. So now you can go out and check all those properties. Or if you lived here in Florida and you want to check and say, you could do it online. We can show you both ways. So now you check them out and you'd say, well, wait a minute, if I buy that one, what would I do with it? See, the key to buying a property is the exit strategy. Okay, so two things are important: what you pay for it and how you're going to get rid of it. See, most people talk about buying all the time. If you go to a class, that you see those things on television, they want you to come to class. All they teach you to do is buy. Forget about buying. You got to sell stuff if you want to go to the bank. So we teach people to sell. So we teach you how to buy at the right price. And basically, my basic rule is, if the tax assessed value was $100,000, now the tax assessed value is considered a trusted source. Nobody trusts a broker. Nobody trusts you or me. Nobody trusts a homeowner, but they will trust the county tax collector. Okay, so the county tax collector said, here we are in Modesto, nice little house, 100,000. I know that's way too low, but 100,000, just for our example. Okay, so I tell people, if it's 100,000 value, don't ever bid more than 20 cents on the dollar. So your maximum bid, if you follow my rules, is never bid more than 20%. Now, there might be some guy that doesn't know what he's doing. He might come in and say, well, I went to a foreclosure class. I'll pay 50 cents on the dollar. Well, he might pay 50 cents on the dollar, but the idea is buy it at 20 and sell it to that other guy that wants to pay 50. Make some quick money. Buy it low and sell it low.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you have any interesting like case studies or success stories, sort of like there was the CPA story with the tax liens, and then with this class that you have going on and the students that you teach, do you have any students that did something like this, like went to the auction and got something real low and did that exit strategy you're talking about?
Okay, I'm going to give you one that's staggering, and I'll do a California one for you. Okay, so first of all, so that you know, what I'm teaching you today, when I do classes, I teach a physical class in Bangkok, Thailand. Okay, I teach it there. I teach it in Melbourne, Australia, Sydney, Australia, Singapore. I teach in all the provinces of Canada. Okay, but we just don't go on television with it because that's a lot of hoopla, and it takes the pricing of everything. We have to charge 10 times more if we go on television. So here's an example of a Canadian, and I teach them how to go to all over the United States and buy. So you can live in any country of the world, and I can teach you to do this here in the States, because here they will sell you property if you'll just pay the taxes. The United States is an open, free market, and it's really open and free. All right, so here's a guy comes to my class. I said, look, you live on the West Coast. I want you to go to Los Angeles. So when I showed him the book for Los Angeles, he says, I can't believe they have this. They had at the auction he went to, they had 1,800 properties. So he went to the auction, and I told him, don't buy houses. And he said, why not? And here's why you don't want. You can buy houses if you want. I told him not to, because everybody is conceived in a house. They grow up in a house. They know everything about houses. So what are they going to bid for at the auction? They're going to bid for houses. Now, what do you think is going to happen? Because everybody thinks California real estate is going to go up forever. So they bid the price up. So I said, I want you to buy a residential lot right next to a house. Buy an empty residential lot. First of all, there's no termites, there's no trash, there's no fixing it up. It's just a nice residential lot. And because the prices of houses are so high, the lots are high. But nobody knows anything about these lots. So believe it or not, and I can show you evidence, these things go out the door for 10 cents on the dollar. Well, what if it's a $200,000 lot in Riverside and you could buy it for 10 cents on the dollar? That would mean you just paid $20,000, but it's a $200,000 lot. It's a no-brainer to sell it for $50,000, and you just made yourself a nice check. So there's a perfect example. All right, let me give you a better one. So this guy, he did it. He practiced it by going to Riverside. He bought it for $20,000, sold it for $50,000, made himself $30,000. He was so happy. Now he lives in Canada. Doesn't even live in the United States. Did the whole thing from his basement office in Canada. Now listen to the next one. So the next guy goes to L.A. Now he gets in Los Angeles, and the auction is a madhouse. There's 1,000 people. They're all bidding, screaming, and yelling, but there's thousands of property. So he doesn't buy the houses. Everybody's screaming to buy a house. They were born in a house. They were conceived in a house. They love houses. He bought residential lots. Now, you're not going to believe me, but I'll show you the evidence. You can go on my website and see it. He bought 5 residential lots. One of them was in Malibu. Now, Malibu, think this out. This is where all the movie stars live. All right, he bought 5 residential lots. Okay, he spent a total of, now this is no amateur, he spent $85,000 that he wrote a check, not to me, not to you, not to a broker. He wrote a check to the tax collector. The tax collector gave him the deeds on 5 residential properties, and the value, according to the tax collector, was $1 million.
Awesome.
That's 8.5 cents on the dollar. Where can you buy something for 8 cents on the dollar? Now, you know, if he gives a big discount when he goes, if he's got $1 million in value, let's just give it 80% discount and sell them all. He'll still make $100,000. That's all on my website. You can go watch it. It's there. We do it all the time. So right. These auctions require a little bit of training. Now, I'm in the training business, so let's be real transparent. I'm in the training business. I've been teaching people how to, but I'm also a player. I did 9 deals myself last year. I'm a player. I make my money buying tax defaulted property called tax deeds. I buy them low. I try to sell them low. Sometimes I even fix them up. I tell new people, don't do fixer-uppers. If you're watching television, you see all those fixer-upper shows, forget it. I'm telling you, forget it. You'll lose your assets. You'll lose your assets because you're not going to be able to do that. Some of those houses are worth 200, and those guys spend 200 fixing them up. You tell me where the money's coming from there. It's coming from the television to make a big show out of it. So don't do fixer-upper property. If you haven't done 10 of those, forget it. Just buy them low and sell them low and get rid of them. Make cash. When you have cash, you do anything you want. You go to Tahiti. You can buy your wife some new furniture. You get a nice new car. Listen, cash is king. That's what I talk about. I don't want people buying. Those fixer-upper houses are a big headache, a big one.
Yeah, and you're limited to how many you can do, and you might get trapped with that property for who knows how many years. And yeah, I could definitely relate to seeing some people who they think that they're big-time real estate people, but then they don't anticipate things, and they don't know that they're getting into this huge hassle. Like I had this friend once who I think he bought a house somewhere in the Midwest for like $130,000, and he was all excited, and he's like, I changed the carpets, I put in new doorknobs on the door, I painted the inside of the house. And I'm thinking like, okay, but like, what's that really going to do to the property value? Like the neighborhood's going to stay the same. And I think I looked it up later, and I think he sold it for about what he paid for it. And then there was someone down the street from me here who they bought a foreclosure, and then they like took a tree down and they did a new paint job, and there was some stupid like fire pit in the front yard they took down. And then when I looked it up later, I think they sold it for maybe $20,000 more than they paid. And I'm thinking, that's okay, I guess, but how many years did that take you? How much labor and how much cost those materials? It just seemed like not the best way to go about it. And I like how you're all about kind of doing this more on paper, doing it more liquid, and having more of this outside the box thinking, right? Like you said, a lot of people, they just do what they see on TV. That's not very creative, but you're saying that you go for the tax liens or the tax deeds, the auctions, you'll buy the residential lot. And so I guess the big lesson I'm getting from all this, from hearing about your thinking and your stories, is this abundance lesson that you mentioned earlier, right? That There's more than one way to go about this. We can always think outside the box. It doesn't have to be a situation where we buy that property and hope we can flip it and hope it doesn't go underwater, or, we don't have to buy a house and then rent it and then be their janitor and their landlord and now be unclogging someone's toilets. We can do a little bit more research than the average person and find some of these cool ways of making money with real estate, like with these auctions. So we mentioned a few times that you have this website and you have this community where you make the videos every day. So can you unpack that a little bit? Can you tell us, like, if someone's heard about some of these real estate possibilities, these tax possibilities, and they want to take things to the next level, what sort of stuff do you have for us?
Okay, well, first of all, what you just said, you need to keep repeating to other people, even when I'm not here. Repeat what you said, because people look at those television shows and think that that's something that they're going to come in and they're going to put up a big beam and they're going to tear the wall down and they're going to do this and that. Listen, those things require building permits. And now the attorneys, especially in Los Angeles, have discovered these guys are going in and fixing up property, and they're making them unsafe because they don't know what they're doing. They don't get an engineer to do the job, and they don't get a building permit, and they come back and sue these guys. So they not only sell the house, think they're going to make a big profit, but then they get to meet the attorney of the buyer, who says, what do you mean you didn't have this done correctly? What do you mean you just painted it? You knew this was wrong. You covered that up. And so that's not, listen, one bad deal could shut you down for 4 or 5 years. So I tell people, look, get a little bit of training. Okay, now I'll tell you just some, I don't want to be pitching you guys. I just want to tell you, there's just real basic courses that we teach. We'll teach you how to buy tax lien certificates, which you can, once you learn how to do it, you can learn it in 3 or 4 weeks. You just working a few hours a day, watch videos. We do everything on video, but we have formal classes for the people that really want to take action. But they didn't just watch video. You can have your grandmother do that. You won't get in any trouble, because all money on tax lien certificates, you have to give the money to the government. The government gives you a check back. So that's a nice, safe investment. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, you want to do fix up is dangerous. It is dangerous. Anybody that tells you otherwise, anybody that tells you the flippers are gone. Listen, when we had a real estate crisis, the banks were dumping everything. The banks aren't dumping anything anymore. You're going to pay big bucks, and you're going to get like a 20% margin to work with, and it can cost 40% to fix the house up. Ask me, I know. You can look at my records. Anybody wants to come and see my records, they're transparent. I'll show you the ones that we didn't do well on and why we didn't. It's because we fixed them up. Okay, so you want to buy tax defaulted properties. You're an entrepreneur. You need to get trained. Don't make a big mistake. So if you want to get trained and get courses, only get this information from someone that's doing it. Do not allow anybody to teach you that isn't doing this. Now, let me give an example of that. I'm an old school guy, okay? My dad was a plumber. I didn't want to be a plumber. I was a pilot. So my first career was a pilot. But I'm going to tell you, the trades have been around for a long time. Now, I say trades, I mean the plumbers, the electricians, the people that put on roofs, those kind of trades. If you're going to learn something, you want to learn it from someone that's doing it. Now, if you want to be a plumber today, you're going to have to go through an apprenticeship. If you want to be a carpenter today, you're going to have to go through an apprenticeship. Don't use the television to be your apprentice, because those guys are trying to make a big show for television. You need to get people that are doing it. So I don't care if people ever buy my course materials. We do fine just doing the business. What we tell them is get someone. When we do classes, now this weekend, it just so happened we're having this call, but tomorrow I start a 3-day class. Everybody that teaches on my platform has done 25 to 50 deals. We don't let them get up there and just tell people, buy this, buy that. Here's what a deal looks like. Here's where you're going to run into trouble. Where can you find people like that? You can't find people anywhere in the United States. They're all on television. Push, push, push. Buy, buy, buy. There's people go on television. They end up investing $40,000 and they wonder what happened to their money. It just disappears. It disappears because you need to work with people slowly, just like the carpenter did, just like the electrician did. You need to learn from people that are doing it. So I tell people, don't buy anything. Now, look, my first career as a pilot. Okay, I spent many years in flight school and doing all those things. Then when I became a pilot, you have to fly with a captain for years before they'll ever let you handle those big airplanes. Why? Because it takes time to learn. There is no get rich quick. Now, I have people that make money in 60 and 90 days, but they buy it and then they sell it to a fixer-upper guy. Well, they don't make the big profit, but they get a profit. So that's the name of the game for me. So we're kind of old school, real old.
But nothing wrong with that. And it sounds like you have something special going on. And I teach people how to make websites and things like that. And you can imagine how many things can go wrong there, and how many people say, well, I'll just piece together what I need to know from all these different sources, or they'll jump in and they'll be impatient and they'll skip a lot of steps. And I'll say, when you make a website, you do this computer internet stuff, you can get a lot done quickly, but in those first few weeks, you really have to pay very close attention and try not to get crazy and try not to do any of your own outrageous creative stuff until you have that foundation built. And many times when someone learns to make a website from me, usually they can get it figured out. But those few cases when they say, well, my website doesn't work or doesn't do what I want, I go and look at what they did. And I say, well, you didn't follow the directions. You followed steps 1, 2, and 3, and then skipped over to step 70. So I can definitely relate to what you're saying as far as the flying a plane, as far as doing these real estate deals. That as entrepreneurs, we're gifted in that we like to jump out and take these risks, and we like to do creative stuff, but you have to kind of put that on hold for at least a little while you have that persistence and that focus to figure out what you need to figure out, right?
Yeah, and the internet has the same complexity. So you're a marketing guy. People just think they're going to put a website up and they're going to get rich. It's not going to happen. They need to have a website that appeals to people. They need to have a website that actually works so people can order things. And when they don't get an order, or you take their credit card and they don't, oh my God, am I going to get this order? They're afraid. They're skeptical. They're wondering, how does this work? You have to build a reputation. There's a lot of things that you have to do to have a successful website. And as you know, yes, there's millions of them, but how many of them make money? That's really the key. Now, I tell people, look, if you only made $10,000 on that deal, it's okay. You learned. Now go to the next one and try to make $20,000. Just slowly do it. You are not going to get rich quick like those television guys tell you. I'm telling you, I made infomercials 20 years ago. I've been there, done that. They spend a lot of money, $50,000 a weekend. You're near a big city. So if you go and check the infomercials that are running in LA on Saturday morning, you're going to see people that are spending $50,000 to get clients to come in. Well, they're going to have to get that money back. And when they get their money back, they're going to get it in materials. Well, those materials better work. And I'm going to tell you, don't wing it and pull out your 6-gun and think you're going to. There's no way that you're going to make money today long term that you're going to make money long term, that you can pull a six gun out of your holster and just go for it. It's not going to happen. It takes a process, and everything is a process. When we do it with these tax liens and deeds, the tax liens are so easy that 3 or 4 weeks they're doing it. But with tax defaulted property, they better check that property and make sure what they're buying. And they don't know how to research property online. Do you know what? I have an external drive, and you'll love this. I didn't invent it because I'm not that good on the web. But my guys in the office, they invented this external drive. And we have, you're going to find this astonishing. We have an external drive. I can send you one. You can plug it into your computer, and you can access every county in the United States, and there's 3,000 of them, every municipality, there's 1,400 of them, and every property. Now listen to this. There's 100 million properties in the United States, and we can access every one of those from your kitchen table. Ha! From your kitchen table, we can tell you the property next door, what it's worth, how many bedrooms it has, what color it is, everything. So we know the value before we go to the auction. Some people go to the auction and say, oh, I think I'll buy that one. Well, why are you buying that one? Well, I want to buy something. What do you mean you want to buy something? Well, I want to get a house. And so they buy. They have no idea what the value is. They have no idea whether there's any code violations. They don't know anything. We know all that before we leave the office. We know that before we leave the office. Imagine such a thing.
Right, those other people, they're just gambling and they don't even realizing it. And your strategy makes a lot more sense. You do that research, that due diligence, you have those small wins, and then you ramp up as you do the repetitions and as you get better. So tedthomas.com, it sounds like that's the place to go. And then if they want to jump in on your training and your courses, is that easy to find once they land there?
Yeah, they can go there, and if they want to order course materials, they can. And if they don't find what they like there, they can just email the office and say, do you have inexpensive things we can send you, like special reports and extra videos and stuff like that? If they call us, we'll take care of them, and they can start as low as $300 or $400, or it can start at a couple of $1,000s. I have free reports for them to give them basic information, but Ted Thomas is where most people like to go, because you and I are only going to talk for 30 or 40 minutes, but on there they'll find some 2 or 3 hours of video of reporters interviewing me, so they can just learn a lot. And then they'll know whether they want to do this. Because, you and I are talking, we're only giving the highlights, but there on those videos, I got time to say, now, all right, you got to be careful of this, think about that. Look, there's no free ride. You can't get in this business for $50 and get rich, but you can buy tax certificates and buy them for $50, $100, and $500. You can get started with the certificates, very low price.
Yeah, I mean, you get started, you see that it works, and then you say, all right, well, now that I was happy with how that worked out, then I'll move on to the next stuff. So tedthomas.com is the place to go. And once you're there, go and check out some of those videos. And I really liked what you said there, Ted, in that if someone wants to call your office, they can and they should. I mean, as you know, in this day and age, a lot of people are just content with hiding behind the computer screen. They don't want to pick up the phone. They don't want to talk to people one-on-one like you and I are talking. And it's a real shame. Well, I guess it's a real shame for most people, but for that small percentage that chooses to get over that nervousness and pick up the phone and make a quick call and just say what they're looking for and ask some questions, there's something to be said about taking just those few minutes to reach out. So go to tedthomas.com, watch those videos, but don't let it be like one of those other websites that you visit and you watch some videos and left. If something really stuck and resonated with you, then get the courses or call Ted's office and make sure that you move things over to the next level. So that way you're not just studying. I mean, if you study and that's it, what does that get you? What we're trying to do here is make some money, build a business, build a better future for yourself. So tedthomas.com is the place to do that and get started with that. And so, man, we had a lot of fun today and just kind of hopefully opened and stretched our minds about some of these outside the box possibilities. And it doesn't have to be some crazy convoluted thing. It can just be something as simple as these tax lien certificates and these tax deeds. So thanks a bunch, Ted, for stopping by and for having a lot of fun with us and sharing a lot of stories and teaching them some stuff. I really appreciate it.
Okay, so take care of everything in the Valley, and I'll look forward to meeting you one day.
All right. It's a plan. Let's do it.
All right. So long.
Please take a second to rate and subscribe to Marketer of the Day in the iTunes Store. It's free. marketeroftheday.com/iTunes.